It's safe to say that Flighty is one of the coolest flight tracking tools out there. From flight logging capabilities to all kinds of statistics to so many cool facts you wouldn't have known of, today I want to show you what this really cool flight logging app is all about. So without any further delay, let's go ahead and get started, everybody. Welcome everybody to Flighty. I hope all of you are excited to take a look at this today, as this is a really cool flight tracking software and you can track all your commercial flights, so many cool statistics, and overall just so much here on this software. So if you don't know, you can find this on iOS and Android. I have it pulled up on my MacBook here. And what Flighty does is it tracks all of your flights, and it's really impressive the amount of data and statistics that it can give you. So I've historically used my Flight Radar 24, which is still a very good software, but I was able to import all of it over to Flighty, and I was just shocked to see all of the information that it gives you. So with that being said, we're not going to waste any further time and go ahead and take a look. So I'll go ahead and zoom out so you can see that this is the actual software itself. It has an entire map here along with the left-hand panel, which shows you a variety of statistics. So first and foremost, we'll just start off with the actual entire interface here on the left. So first off, it's going to have an all-time passport. You see a bunch of these on Instagram, but anyway, this tells you what an all-time statistic for somebody is. So as you can see here, I have 364 commercial flights, and that encompasses over 230,000 miles flown. I have 30 days of flight time, 99 airports, and 37 airlines. And then you can see it kind of tells you some of the different details down there. And here's just a couple more statistics. 364 flights. You can see the long hauls, internationals, and domestics. Most of my flights are taking place on Saturdays and Sundays, as you can see, and less flights on Thursdays. And you can see the distance that I've flown right there, which is really cool. 1 time to the moon and 9 times around the earth, which is just insane to think about that. And it talks about my longest and shortest flights. This one's the shortest because it was a helicopter flight. Can't really track it properly. And then my longest flight was that Jetstar 787 from Honolulu to Sydney. So very cool. 700 hours of flight time, 4 weeks. And again, you saw the distances previously. My average flight time is 2 hours. I've spent 500 hours in the air, 500 hours in the air. And it also calculates your flight's taxi time. So I have over 125 hours taxiing on airplanes, which is insane to think about. And then you can see the shortest flight time was that helicopter ride. That was 9 minutes. And then my longest flight time, this is wrong. This needs to be adjusted. This is an import from 2013 and the time got off. But this is not the longest flight time. It's that flight that you saw previously on that Jetstar. But anyway, always good to learn. You can see I visited Tulsa 162 times, and then DFW, Denver, Dallas, Love Field, Chicago, and the list continues to move down. 37 airlines, 109 flights on Southwest Airlines. And you can see the others. United's jumping up fast. They're at 45, which is really cool. Delta in that 4th spot, Allegiant, and then the list continues to go down. You can see all my total routes here at 223, with DFW Tulsa taking the lead, but Dallas Love Field is definitely jumping up there on the inbounds. So I expect that to continue. 20 countries and 10 of them being in Europe, which is pretty crazy, but fortunately I just need to get Central and South America and I'll have one from everywhere. So this is really cool, and this also is distributed by years. So for example, in 2019, I only did like 12 flights or whatever. So you can see my little map there and what my statistics are and how that stacks up relative to other years. And obviously 2024 might be the biggest year in my life. It's very possible that it will be. So you can see nearly 125,000 miles, 187 flights. And then you can also see that I went 5 times around the earth in just that 1 year. Shortest and longest flights once again. And then, yeah, this is what the longest one's supposed to be like, so on and so forth. So very cool to see the statistics there. And it's really awesome that it distributes that. Then you can see that I've also lost 63 hours from delays, which is just crazy. My average delay flight is 31 minutes. So you can see here on an American 737, I had a 7-hour delay back in 2017. And you can see most of my flights, fortunately, have been pretty well performing. Nearly 80% of these flights have been early or on time, which just shows you how impressive aviation is. And I've only had about 15% of my flights that have been delayed in any capacity. And you can see the performance from some of these airlines. Lufthansa, for example, doesn't block as much time as others. So you can see they've been 3 for 3 on delayed flights. Same for Breeze and some of the other carriers here. And you can see the airports that have also performed poorly. So it's fascinating to see that for sure. And then you can also see here the total delays and the actual flights themselves. So this shows you a whole chart here of my flights that have been most delayed, and then it doesn't show any of the non-delayed ones or early, but obviously you can see here several flights that I've misconnected on. So this Hobby to Tulsa one was a huge misconnect. Sorry, that wasn't that one. There was it's bound here somewhere. This Sioux Falls to Chicago was a misconnect. So it is just fun to see, where the misconnects come from and how they come throughout. I didn't even know that this flight right here in 2014 was a flight that was delayed an hour and a half. It's just really cool that they were able to keep all the logs and all this. I highly recommend all of you to use it for your knowledge. Another really cool tab is your most flown aircraft. You can see here for me, it's the Boeing 737-700 that I have 61 flights on for 95 flight hours. And it also notes that my most flown tail is November 941 Whiskey November. I've flown that aircraft 3 times, which I didn't know that, so it's very helpful to know. And then it's also worth noting that most of my aircraft have been Boeing. My youngest aircraft was an Airbus A220 from Breeze. My oldest was a Delta 757. So it is cool to see that. It shows you the seat distribution. And then you can see my actual aircraft types here. The 737s lead the way. Thank you, Southwest. But we also have quite a few Airbuses in here. All 3 of the A320 family aircraft here, and the 717 fortunately is pretty high in the Embraer 175. You can see my economy statistics here. You can also see that most of my flights have been window, and I've sat in 23F multiple times, which is pretty cool, and plenty of personal flights. So you can also see here some more duplicate tail numbers that have been flown twice. I didn't even know about this Hawaiian 717, so yeah, awesome to get this distribution, know about all this, and then I'm sure there's more of them here. Let's see. The Spirit one I knew about. I did not. This was a no plane change. This one was really cool. I did not know about 54B, but again, that could have been no plane change. I did not know about this one. This was a plane change. I did know about this one. See, several of these I didn't even know about, but I've actually flown the same aircraft twice, multiple times. So yeah, there's like 11 of them. So I'll have to go through that and really study that a little bit. The average aircraft age has been 15 years old. You can see here, there, and then there are my aircraft. And it's really cool that it's got the CGI with the actual airplane on there in the registration and so forth. So just really good. And then for example, let's just see what happened in 2024. My newest aircraft was a Frontier A321neo at that time. And the oldest one was actually one of my United Boeing 777s. And I bet in 2022, the United 777 comes up again, the first ever delivered one. And this United Max, that I don't know why the livery is not there, but anyway, that's what it's supposed to be. And then those are the 2 aircraft. Both those happened in 2023, which is pretty crazy. You can see some American Airlines aircraft here for 2021. In 2019, we got 9620 Delta. That's absolutely epic. And then Delta Embraer 175. And then you can see American Max that I had in 2018, but I'm trying to think of when I flew in American. That's 73. I was like, I didn't fly in Max in 2018. But anyway, it's just cool that it's distributed by this and the details and so on. So that's awesome. And then here, this is where we get into the nitty gritty. This is all the actual, I don't know if I can expand this any, I don't think so. But anyway, this is every flight segment. I can just scroll for an hour and 15 minutes, but we do eventually get there. But you can see every single flight segment that I've done, plenty in 2024, quite a few in 2023, and then it starts to get sparse here towards the end. And obviously that puts us down to the front. But obviously there was a couple like that San Antonio to Dallas one that I need to adjust. Not that one particularly, but there was a couple others that need to be adjusted. But anyway, that was just a hint here towards the map functionality. So here's the actual map itself. As you can tell, there's quite a few different lines here. This obviously represents all the flights. So for example, just real quick, I'll go back to it. But if you want to see that I flew in Australia a little bit, we can go down here and you can obviously see the flights that I did here in Australia, and then obviously all the way around. But if we come back to the United States, you can certainly see how complex this gets, and it shows you where I've flown over, when I flew over it, and so forth. So let's say that I want to look at a segment that I only did once, was Tulsa to Salt Lake City. So I'm going to click on this one right here. Well, I guess you can't click on them. I thought you could. I'm still learning the software as we speak. So anyway, it shows you all the lines, but then you have to manually go through and pick a flight. So let's go ahead and pick one from recently so that I know what was going on. Let's go ahead and pick the first ever Tulsa to Nashville flight on Southwest. So if I click on this flight, it will zoom me into the actual flight path. So it literally gives the exact flight distribution. So you can see we went over Jonesboro, north of Jackson, Tennessee, and then landed on 2 left. And then you can see here, it had times, we were early. And then it also has the additional weather information, which is just crazy to think about. It tells you the aircraft type and where that aircraft came in from. So in this case, came in from Chicago's Midway Airport. And it even gives you the detailed time frame of the actual times and when we taxied and how long taxi took. So it's incredible to see that. It gives you how many times I've flown the route and so forth, and the predicted landing. So it's just incredible to see. And this is just the basic subscription as well. So if I got a different one, it would give me even more detail on the actual flight. But we know I've flown Tulsa to DFW many times. So let's go to my most recent Tulsa to Dallas venture. So if I scroll down here back to 2024, here's one from November. And you can see here, it has, once again, we did a little sidestep. I was asleep for that sidestep, so I don't remember exactly what happened. But anyway, you can see what my connection time was at DFW that day, which was an hour and a half. You can see the arrival forecast on it. There's my Airbus A319. It came in from Kansas City that night. And you can see the ground time, how long it took the taxi, and then how many times I've flown it's going to be on here, 22 times. And it literally has every single time that I've flown it, the exact equipment, the registration, so forth. Like this April 15th one, I can't hyperlink click, which hopefully they'll add features like that in the future. But if I go down to that one in April, it'll show the same statistics. But for the sake of this example, let's go ahead and look at another cool duplicate. Denver to Tulsa's been on there several times. Here's another time. I remember we went around thunderstorms this time. And if I go down here, you can see my plane. And we were a little bit delayed, but you can also see I've flown this route on United and Southwest Airlines, so you can see that featured here several times. In fact, there was a time from before 2023. I don't know why that's not listed on there, but it is really cool to see the distribution. And another route that I'm curious on is my Tulsa to Chicago flights, which I've done quite a few of those. So if I scroll up here and find Tulsa to Chicago, because actually, never mind, I didn't do it that day. I was supposed to, but that delay that we mentioned earlier cost me. So let me see if I can find a Chicago to Tulsa flight here so I can show you, just what a smaller list looks like. For the sake of demonstration purposes, I might have to go back to way back. There's one from July of 23. You can see this route coming back from Oshkosh. We flew around and all the way back down. And I imported this all from My Flight Radar 24, did an awesome import. It has all the details on it, and it picked up all the flights correctly along with the routes and so forth, which is just extremely impressive. You can see here I've flown it 6 times, 2 in 2017, 1 in 23, 1 in 24, and then 2 this year in 25, which is awesome. And another one that I want to take a look at here for good measure is going to be the Tulsa to Dallas Love Field segment. This particular one was delayed, and I'm trying to remember what happened with this one. I don't remember it being that late, but I remember coming back from the Pacific Northwest trip. You can see the bank out, and then we went around the land on 18 left. This was another 737-700. And you can see every Southwest flight that I've done. We did one in 2015, then obviously since then it's picked up. So you can see all my flights through Dallas Love Field on 737, mainly 700s, but there has finally was a Max 8 the other day. In fact, I've flown 700s on it just to that point. So in fact, the 733s here at the bottom, so that shows you where we're at on this. But anyway, it's super cool. I'll just go ahead for the sake of showing you what one way far looks like, just to prove to you that the route's correct. Let me see if I can recognize any of these. If we did any crazy turns or whatever. Trying to remember if there's any here that we did any craziness on. Let's think here. I know that I'm positive that on this flight from Orlando to Tulsa that we did some pretty big turning during that flight. No, that was a straight line one, never mind. And that looks like a straight line. So there's a chance, yeah, this one's from 2015. So not every single flight's gonna pick up correctly. And I could have mistyped some information, so I won't hold it against it. I'm just trying to find one if it does track that far back. This one probably we did. Okay, see, they're straight lines. So it tracks pretty far back. Let's see where the first one. So I know we landed, we did some turning on, it's the Tulsa to Dallas flight. We landed on 18 right. Did it pick that up? No, so straight line. So it's probably the more recent flights, but the fact that it still is picking it up pretty realistically is pretty crazy. Let's see. How about this Dallas to Miami? So see, yeah, it's picking up data back to several years ago, which is really impressive. Even if I look at Breeze here from 2022, you can see that route is accurate. So yeah, we did do that right down to runway 8, and then we came back and landed. So I do highly recommend the software. There's so many really cool features of it, and you can see just how cool it is to look at from globe perspective and all the airports over here that I've been to. So here's all my European flying. Now I can illuminate a little bit better so you can see all the places I've been. So feeling very fortunate for all these experiences, and it's really cool to see it from this perspective. So yeah, I really hope all of you enjoyed this video. Really cool to see it all in this presentation, and there's certainly no shortage of opportunity when taking a look at it from this view. So I really hope all of you enjoyed this. Thank you all so much for watching. Again, let me know what you think in the comments below. Super cool software, and would recommend it to all. Thank you all, excuse me, my goodness. Thank you all so much for watching. Take it easy, everybody. Stay safe. Just process. Do you love you do. My name's CM Aviation. I want to thank you all so much for, for watching, and I'll see you all soon as CM Aviation is signing off.